if you can go back in time and have 30 seconds with your 17-year-old you,
Ooh.
what would you tell him in those 30 seconds?
With my 17-year-old me, man. Wow. I would tell him, like, you're going to be a fucking badass. Like, that's what I would tell him. Like, forget about what everybody else is going to fucking think about you. Forget about all the shit talking that might happen. Like, just be you. Be proud of yourself through the process and realize, like, you're more of a badass than you think.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Stay Tranquilo Podcast. My name is Andre Dunand. I'm just kidding. It's POOCH, otherwise, or formerly known as Daniel. I'm taking a break from behind the camera for something a little bit special. I think it's something that me and Andre have kind of talked about recently, and I don't think we've ever kind of given a true kind of origin of what Stay Tranquilo is. We just kind of hopped on the scene, started pushing out content right away. I don't think we ever gave it the due diligence to let you guys know, who Stay Tranquilo is, what we are, why we started doing what we're doing, and why, Andre actually, created this thing and truly this monster in the first place. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Andre to kind of give him the spotlight for once and let him properly and formally introduce himself to the people.
It is definitely weird being on the other side of like being interviewed. I'm definitely not used to. I feel like I'm more nervous doing this than like any other pod.
Yeah, because you don't know what's coming next at this point.
Yes,
so
that's true. I have zero.
I have total control. I'm in complete control right now. Is that a good thing? We're gonna find out whether or not it's a good or a bad thing. But I'm in complete control of this ship. So this is new grounds for Andre right now.
Yeah,
this is
it is
for the Tranquilo guys. This is new for him. So man, let them know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it's something that I've always wanted to do. Is like always tell a story a little bit more. I think, the name is pretty self-explanatory. People are like, oh, stay tranquilo, like stay chill, and they love it. But there's such a deeper meaning behind the name Stay Tranquilo and why why the name Stay Tranquilo, why I even wanted to start it. So I definitely want to get into that. But yeah, to answer your question, when I started Stay Tranquilo, I didn't really know what I wanted it to be. And I think actually within the last year is where I really finally figured it out, what I wanted to be, like from a business lens, right? I always kind of knew what the mantra I wanted to preach, and I always wanted to push positivity and put a positive message out there. But, to rewind my life, I guess you can say, it all started without even knowing, Stay Tranquilo, of what I wanted it to become. But the reason behind this all started was when I was in high school, and I, went to private school. I went to Columbus High School, obviously, like everyone knows. And, you live the life that you live, being a very privileged private school. I had everything. I had a beautiful home. Parents that were great parents growing up, and went to private school, elementary school. But my senior year of high school, my life literally completely changed, and it happened extremely quickly. And almost out of like, a shock, I guess you can say. My parents got divorced my senior year, but it wasn't your typical divorce. It turned out to be that, my dad was not a great dude, and made our lives very difficult. And I'm gonna get into like everything.
I do, brother. Do it.
But essentially, senior year of high school, I am in my classroom about to take finals, and I remember at this point things were already kind of like iffy in my house, and a lot of things were starting to come to light and be exposed. And I get a call from the intercom in school, basically calling me down to the office saying, we need to talk to you. So I go to the office. McKeon's there, and I think Pew was there, and they basically are like, you can't take your finals, your tuition hasn't been paid this year. And you're 17 years old, you don't even think about these things, right?
Yeah.
Like
usually
you just show up. You wake up, you show up, you go to school, and that's it.
In our minds, it just takes care of its automated. It just takes
it's
care
automated,
of itself.
exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, and that's when I was like, what? Like I'm sitting there like in shock. I'm like, what do you mean? So I call my dad and I call my mom, and I'm like, I call my mom. My mom's like, what do you mean your tuition hasn't been paid? And then I call my dad, and he's like, oh yeah, like we're working on it, whatever. And turns out that basically no one paid my tuition because my dad was in control of the money, and no one knew where the money was going. And my mom entrusted in the fact that the bills were getting paid and everything was getting paid. And this kind of turns into a spiral effect, right? My tuition doesn't get paid. Then I start finding out that my home that I lived in for my whole life basically was under foreclosure like 6 times. My dad hadn't paid the mortgage in like 18 years. Then it turns out that the cars that I always would see in my house, that we would have them for like a year and then they would go, and I'm just thinking, and they would always say, oh yeah, we're trading it in for something else. We're trading it in for something else. They were just getting repoed all the time because my cars weren't getting paid for. We had a house in North Carolina. That shit got fucking repoed or taken by the bank. And then it just started exposing everything. It's like my life for 20 something years has been a lie, right? Everything that I had was not real, essentially, because we hadn't paid for anything. God knows if we even afforded anything. And then on top of it, my mom had been basically busting her ass for God knows how many years, and we were essentially left with nothing. My tuition ends up getting paid by the priest of my middle school. It wasn't even my parents. And I find this out years later. Yeah. I just am told that my tuition was paid for and that I could take my finals. I didn't go to my senior prom. I didn't go to a bunch of things senior year because of this. And then on top of it, find out, hey, you're losing your house that you lived in for 20 something years. Your parents are getting divorced. Your car is gone. Like everything's gone, right? Then on top of all of this, my grandma loses her house because, long story short, my dad pulled money out of my grandparents' mortgage, and then my grandma loses her house. So now don't have a home, literally don't have a home. My grandma doesn't have a home. And then my mom is getting a divorce with my dad after, 20 something years of being married. So this is all happening. I'm 17, 18 years old, and I have a brother that's 15 at the time. And then I got another brother that's 4 years old at the time. And he's in the midst of this. He has nothing going on, no idea what's going on. And it was such a shock to me because, my life was a good life growing up. Everything was given to me. My parents were good parents growing up. Like nothing really like ever exposed itself. Then all of a sudden, fucking a whole can of worms gets open and my life literally drastically changed. So, fast forward to college and everything that's going on and the rough shit that went down between my parents. I was then kind of put onto this path of life, I guess you can say, where I had to become the father of the house, essentially, right? Be the one to be there for my 4-year-old brother and be the one to kind of be there for him. Yeah. Take him to baseball practice, be his little league coach, just be there, like literally be there for him. And it did put a toll on me because like I didn't live the life of what like an 18-year-old was. Like I wanted to go away for college and I did it for a second, but I came back because I felt so guilty because I felt like I was running away from my problems. And that was a constant battle where it was a rough divorce. I had to be there for my mom. I had to be there for my brothers, and I almost put it on myself to like be that person to lift everybody up and be the strong person in the house. And it was tough. It was tough, and it's still tough to this day. I mean, we still have the lingering effects to it to this day because of how abrupt it was, but you come out stronger from this. And I think obviously if I don't go through that, this would have never existed, right? Because what started happening to me during that time was I really needed to figure myself out. I needed to stay calm, I guess, through this kind of like adversity and shit show that was going on in my life. And I started meditating a lot at the time because it would calm me down. It would keep me level-headed. It was like the things that I would read always pointed to like, this is going to help you. And in that process, I realized that I want to help people. I want to give back to people. I want to be a voice for people and share my story of challenges, because we all deal with challenges in life. And this is an opportunity, through Stay Tranquilo to help people with challenges and to remind you that through the shit shows that happen in life and the crazy things and obstacles and challenges that we all face, that everything is going to be all right, right? And doesn't feel like that in that moment, but if you can remind yourself and tell yourself, hey, it doesn't make sense right now and this shit is not easy, but it will pan out and it will be okay. And you just got to tell yourself that. You got to almost like convince yourself that like, you know what, it's going to be okay. And that's what I would tell myself. And that mantra would be like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Always find the positive. Always find the positive. And that's where Stay Tranquilo originated from. I was like, stay calm, everything's gonna be all right, right? And then I'm like, you know what? This is my mantra. Stay tranquilo is my mantra. Like I need to stay calm. I need to remind the people around me to stay calm, like because it's very easy to let your emotions get the best of you. It's very easy to just let shit fucking, consume you, right? Like your head can take over you and it can take you down a bad path, right? It's gonna your thoughts will consume you, your emotions will consume you for the good or for the bad. And Stay Tranquilo was like the level set, right? It's like don't get too high, don't get too low, right? Just be here, be now in the moment, take it as it is, and everything will be okay. And I think that was something I told myself, I convinced myself, and I still use it to this day. Sometimes I forget about it because I feel like I'm in a better place now, but when everything is not going all right, even if it's just mentally, externally everything could be going right, but mentally you might think it's not going all right. You go back to that and it helps. So, I'm sure I'm leaving out a lot of details in between, but high level, that's kind of why it started. My family went through some things, and I will forever remember those moments of what we went through, and it made my family obviously closer between my mom and my brothers and my grandma, who recently passed away, but she was like a glue into that family too through that. You come out stronger from those things, and obviously that's why we're here today doing this, because I want to spread a message of like, through the challenges of life, everything will be all right. And, not to be like cliche, but like how Bob Marley says, don't worry, be happy. It's a little play on that, right? Like everything will be all right. Do not worry too much. Do not let stress consume you. Do not let it take over your life. Just, be happy in life and enjoy it even when things are not going as you planned, I guess you can say.
Yeah, man. And, I guess, credit to you. That was brave, to tell that story. I think it takes a lot to have to go back to that point in your life and kind of revisit that. So credit to you. But I mean, I think it's interesting how you say it, because I feel like, especially in Latino culture, the word and the phrase, tranquilo, tranquila, ponte tranquilo,
Right.
Stay tranquilo, that's used so often.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And I think people don't really give it that phrase like its true kind of meaning. Like, what does it really mean to like stay tranquilo
Right.
para tranquilizarte. You know, I think like it's used so much. I've heard it throughout my life, but you know, once I started, you know, doing this with you, you know, I kind of sat back. I'm like, what does it mean to stay tranquilo?
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you can go down a glossary of freaking, you know, moments and stuff. And I think doing what we're doing kind of shows that there's more to being tranquilo than just really just like sitting back.
Yeah.
Like staying tranquilo can take on so many variations. And I think that's what I love about what we're doing. You know, you said it, you know, through yours was through meditation,
Yeah.
you know, through music. Like I feel like there's so many ways to go about it. And I really feel like it's powerful about, you know, that word, you know, that phrase, stay tranquilo.
Yeah.
That, you know, it feels like now a lot of people are saying it because of us, you know. All my friends now they're saying, "Oh, stay tranquilo, man, stay tranquilo."
Yeah.
And you know, every time I'm around, I'm like, "Listen, man, you say it, but like really, really understand
Really
what that means,
understand
man.
it, yeah.
Really understand what that means." And I mean, you know, not to have to make you go back so much into that point.
No,
but,
no, it's fine,
You know,
please.
So
I never really done this, so
yeah. So you went off to FSU after that.
yes, I did.
And
for a brief
obviously, you
moment.
know, you want to go live your teenage years. You want to go live that early adulthood of, you know, going to college, obviously going to FSU, you're in Tallahassee, you're living by yourself.
Right.
You know, how hard was it to enjoy those moments of being in like that party school and then still remembering that
Yeah.
I still have my younger brothers at home and on top of everything, like my mother
Yeah.
dealing with all this. Like by then was already kind of everything, like did the dust kind of settle or was it still
No,
kind
it
of
was still kind of like in the peak of all of this. Like obviously, at this point, we had already moved into the house that we still live in today, and basically, my mom, you know, was starting from scratch. You know, she had to use whatever money she had at the time to basically put a security deposit on a rental home, and you know that home has been a blessing. But when I went to FSU, it was almost like, you know, I kind of look back at it now, but I was almost kind of like running away from the problem, right? And I wanted that college life, but you know, the moment I got out there, and I had been visiting before, I had gotten in to FSU originally out of high school, didn't go, and then just said, "Fuck it, I got to do this for me," and I went and I did it, and pretty much like every day, I just felt guilty for being there, because you know I felt like I was running away from it, and I knew, you know, my family needed me. My youngest brother at the time was 6 years old, a child, you know, and no fatherly figure. It was still a shit show between the whole divorce and getting all those things settled and the custody battles and all this stuff and the courts, everything, man. Like everything was still going on. And I'm like, I need to be there for both my brothers. I need to be there for my mom. You know, I just need to be there. So I basically called my mom one day and I was like, I'm going to go back because I just feel guilty for being here and I'm not going to be able to enjoy this to the fullest. And I came back and it was 1,000,000% the right decision. I have zero regret in making that decision. And I needed to do it for me. I needed to do it for everyone in my family. And you know, it's what made us stronger as a family.
And I'm sure your mom was the first one to tell you not to come back, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course, because you know she feels guilty that you know because of this I'm not able to do it. She
No, but you have to
was
make
very open to me going out there,
you
but
have to make the ground decision.
it didn't make sense, and it is what it is. You know, everything happens for a reason in life, and that's something that I always had to tell myself, and I'm still the biggest believer that, you know, I always say no challenge in life that is given to you is too big because this is the challenge that was meant for you, right? And it may not feel that way at the time, but it always will pan out that way. You're always going to figure it out. You know, you got to be consistent. You got to surround yourself with the right people. You got to be strong mentally. I think that's the biggest thing. You got to just master this guy up here, because if you don't, you could go on the other side of that, right? And it could become a problem. And it's easier said than done, right? Like I could say I'm gonna figure it out. I'm strong-minded. I'm this. I'm that, and try to convince yourself. But life is life, and there's moments where it's gonna be really fucking tough. But you have to lift yourself up. and you got to carry on and you got to persevere, because that's where true growth happens. I mean, if you read the most successful people in the world, like it didn't happen by accident. Like it happened through adversity, you know, and adversity is what builds character, and you almost have to embrace it, you know, and if you don't embrace it, then you're just hurting yourself. And again, it's easier said than done. You got to have the people around you to help you out. And I remember having conversations with some of my boys, you know, that I was willing to have that dialogue with and talk to them and vent to them and tell them this is what's going on. And you also don't want to, like, for me, I always never wanted to play the victim card, right? Like, don't feel bad for me. Like, I always hated that, and I still hate that to this day.
Yeah,
but
I'm not a fan of pity either.
I don't expect pity, and that's one of the main reasons why I've never wanted to even do this.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want people to feel bad for me. I don't want people to have pity for me. But it comes to a point where you have to be vulnerable, right? One, and two, you just it's your story. It's okay to share your story. It's okay to let people know what you go through, because there's going to be someone out there that's going to relate to that at some capacity. And the things that I would tell myself also was like, there's bigger problems out there, you know, like you're not the only one going through this. People are always going through problems all the time. Like, this is your battle. You're going to figure it out, and you're going to be better from it. And I really feel like I did. And I really, truly believe that this would have never existed if I'd never went through that. So I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've obviously, you know, I've never gone through what you obviously went through. You know, I know friends that went through, you know, ugly divorces too and stuff, and I can never imagine like that. I mean, I'm lucky enough that I've never faced anything of that magnitude. But, you know, when it comes down to the pity that you said, you know, especially even the times where I have faced some stuff, like I always told people, like, don't feel bad for me. Just appreciate what I'm going to do with the stuff that happened to me. And like, I think that's what I hope people, you know, when they hear Andre's story, is that, you know, don't feel bad for what happened to him. Like, appreciate what, you know, has happened because of it. Like everything that's come out of it, and like that overcoming, because like you talk about like the mental like fortitude. Like, I feel like that's something that's kind of become like a forgotten art, like that mental fortitude. Like, I feel like a lot of people just give up nowadays, and it's kind of sad to see, you know, for whatever their circumstances. I mean, some people have tougher circumstances than other, but I mean, mental fortitude, man, just the ability just to, like, I wouldn't say embrace the darkness, but just look at it in the face and be like, all right, good. That's a good shot. Yeah. Watch this next one I got for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, that's every time I had a problem.
I think boxing is the perfect analogy of it. Yeah. It's like, you're going to take the punches, bro. You're going to get bruised up. You're going to get kicked down. You're going to fall to the floor. Like, that shit is going to happen. It's like, all right, time to get back up, you know? And, you know, it sounds brutal, and it sounds dark, and it sounds...
No, I mean, it's the idea of it.
It's the truth of reality of life. And I think the more we can embrace the truth of what life is about, and you're willing, like you said, to embrace it, you're only going to come out better, and your character is true. You know, it's like we live in such this, like, you know, look at me world, and
what was me?
What was me world. And it's almost like, but like, why are you the way that you are? Like, I want to know that, right? Like, and that's why I started the podcast, right? Like, I want to hear your story. Like, what did you go through? Because there's going to be someone else out there that's going through something right now, and they're going to relate to it, right? Like, I don't want to only hear about the butterflies and the rainbows and the sunshine. Like, I want to hear about the shit that you went through.
Everyone has that.
Because we all got a story, you know, and you come out better from it. And it's, you're on the other side of it, and you appreciate it so much more because of where and what you went through, right? Like, you appreciate the good stuff that much more. Like, the wins feel 10 times better. Everything just feels 10 times better because you remember where the fuck you came from, and you're like, woof, that was tough, but you know what? We figured it out, and we're better from it, and this feels good.
Yeah. There's a saying, it's like, I didn't hear a bell. I didn't hear the bell yet.
Yep.
No, but I think, yeah, man, I mean, I feel like anyone going through stuff out there, I mean, like, you have to just find a way to, like, find some light. It doesn't have to be like the whole light. It doesn't have to be a ginormous tunnel, but just find a glimmer of something, you know, find a glimmer of just a little sparkle.
There's always hope on the other side.
Sparkle through a rock, you know, like whatever it is, just, you know, there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of life to live, and it's a beautiful life to live. So if you can find a way to just kind of get back, you know, find yourself again. I mean, And I think that's a stronger thing someone can do, like getting themselves out of the mud. I think there's a lot of strength in that. And like again, what you said, I think people are also afraid to talk about what they've been through.
Yeah.
Which I think is hard too. But I mean, like I said, everyone has a story. Everyone's been through something. But you know, looking at you, man, like you're here now. We're here sitting down a pod.
You
we got our
almost
merch on.
Yeah.
We got our, shout
You
out
forget how
Cureleaf.
far you've come from sometimes.
Shout out Cureleaf. We got our Cureleaf hats going.
Shout out Cureleaf. But it's funny because you do kind of forget where you come from, and on the drive here, like I had to I put myself in a different place.
Yeah.
You know, I started really like going back and reflecting, and it changed my demeanor because, like you said, I started looking at like, damn, bro, like look at the day we had today. You know, we recorded a couple different things. We're here at Vic's place. And that's the other thing. Like, look at all the amazing people that we've met along the way.
Shout out Vic.
Vic being one of them right there, as he does his painting. But
Vic is making some great artwork right behind that camera right there. So that will be coming out soon.
But it's true. You don't really appreciate so much on the journey because like you get caught up in it, but you really have to sometimes just look back and be like, holy shit, look how far I've come, how far I've come, because it's very easy to lose sight of that. Yeah.
No, I think like even with me, like I think one thing I struggle with is like my own like self-esteem. Like that's been like my biggest like I said, I didn't have like a lot of I didn't like obviously like my parents, I've had a great family, I've had a great life. But like with anyone, I've struggled with my own like internal.
I think a lot of people struggle with that.
And like, like especially with me and my work, like I'm always self-conscious about my work. Mm-hmm. Like I hate putting it out there because I'm like, man, like what if someone doesn't like it? So like I've always had to like overcome and like, not look for other people's, I guess, approval of what I do, but like really see like my work and be like, I'm like that. Yeah. Like, and like you always like, and you're always the one to remind me. And like, I think like it's vice versa. Like sometimes I have to like, and like through that, I've been able to like tell you like whenever like we're talking about like Stay Tranquilo and stuff, it's like, man, like I know we want to get big, but like dude, we've done a lot.
Yeah, no.
In the last like couple of, like only a couple of months, man. Like those talks outside of Pinecrest Performance will be like, man, like what are we gonna do next? What do we do next? I'm like, man, I know we gotta look at next, but like man, we've done a lot. You gotta be appreciative of the moment. Yeah, you gotta appreciate the journey. Because obviously we're ambitious people and we want to do a lot and we really want to make things happen, but you can't always be so fixated on the destination when there's so much good around you. Yeah. Because there really is so much in front of us here and right now that if we don't appreciate it now, when are you gonna appreciate it, right? Yeah. Things come and go, moments come and go. I mean, at any given moment, your life can change. Like I saw it in the front of, in my eyes, and you have to carry that with you because you're only gonna appreciate shit so much more. And I think that's extremely important. But to even go like even deeper than that, right? Like I remember when I was going through all this shit, for whatever reason, the question that would always come up to me would be like, what's my purpose? Like, I really started going down that rabbit hole. I don't know why. And it's a question that like, it's a loaded question, right? Because God knows what you can convince yourself. But if you actually like, and if you're listening to this, like sit down and like literally ask yourself that question, right? Because I truly do believe we're all here for a reason and it's a larger purpose than what we think. And you'll have different moments where you'll have different purposes. And I think there's seasonalities of life where your purposes might change. But deep rooted within us, I do truly believe we have this larger purpose in life. And when I was going through this with my family, I remember asking myself that question a lot. And I would sit on it and I would marinate on it and I would marinate on it. And I would go to a bunch of different places and internally, right? And this is what came out of it. And that's what made me feel so convinced that this is something that I have to do, because in that moment of discovery, this is what came out of it in my head. Like, this is what marinated of sitting and thinking and like really trying to identify who I am as a person and what I'm supposed to like give to this world, right? That's out of, like, hey, God planted you on this earth
figure it out, right? And when I tried to figure it out, Stay Tranquilo was literally what came out of it. And I'm like, okay, this is what I was set out to do. Like, stress is at an all-time high. I see it in my family and the effect that it has on the people around me and myself. And like, it can kill you. It could literally kill you, and it brings everybody down in the process. So it's like, I need to do this because a lot of people struggle with this, and including myself, and we need to learn to just relax. Just
take a breath.
Take a breath. Enjoy the moment.
Take a couple breaths.
Right? And a lot of this came out of it, right? It was like, be present, slow down, appreciate more. Like, appreciate what you have. Appreciate the little things, right? Like, as simple as like having your coffee in the morning, turning on your shower, right? Like, there's so many things that we pass by every single day that we don't say thank you to, right? And I think that's part of like this whole like tranquilo mantra. Like, the more you can appreciate, the more you can slow down, the more you can be present in the moment, the more that you can be kind to yourself and kind to the people around you, it's just going to make your life 10 times better. And then it's a ripple effect. It leaks into the person next to you. It leaks to the people around you. And then you hope that they do that. And then it leaks to their people around them. And, you know, I generally think like we could make the world a better place if we were just more present with ourselves, really evaluated where we are internally, and stop being so fixated on the external and more on the internal, that we really could bring so much peace and joy into our lives that it really could make the world, a better place.
Yeah, I think, slowing down, living in the moment, I feel like it's hard to do.
It's hard. It's hard, especially in today's society,
and
where
we're in
it's
Miami.
always
Miami is a
go.
fast-paced city. A lot of people, a lot of things happen. But I mean, like, kind of going off of that, like my biggest issue always was that, like, for any interaction, like anything I ever did in my life, I never always just thought about like, let's just do this and like see what happens. I would think about the 15 different scenarios that can happen from this.
Yeah.
Like, I would never just let, shit happen. Like, I would always like do something already thinking of like, okay, but if they say this might happen, but this might happen, this might happen.
Yeah.
I'd psych myself out from like doing stuff. And I think like I limit myself a lot for a multitude of things because, and I still struggle with, I psych myself out. Like, I think of every scenario, some good, some bad.
Right.
And I'm just like, and by the time I finally settle myself down, like, it's already too late to make the decision. So, I mean, I've definitely been trying to do better of like living in that moment and, staying tranquilo and, and I take out, and I see you and I'm like, man, Andre, like, especially when we were in the DR, it was just like, it was 7 a.m. I see the beach door. Like, what the hell is happening out there? I see Andre just like on the beach, like doing sand angels in the sand. I'm like, what the hell is the motherfucker doing? And bro, he was just in the moment, man. He was just living it, man. He was just enjoying, the journey we've been on, since we started, man. We started out of Flanagan's and now we're here with merch and stuff. We got...
Life's better when you soak it all in, man.
Yeah, man.
It really is. Like, literally, bro, take the trip, hang out with your friends, find the passion project that you love and do it. And like, just almost, live that fearless life. Like, life's too short to not enjoy it. And it's one of those things like, yes, we have bills to pay. Yes, we have responsibilities. It's not to say like, fuck it, like, fuck life, like, just do whatever the fuck I want. It's easy. It's a lot easier said than done. Some people could do that, right? Like, some people are literally reckless and they figure it out as they go. Yeah. And that's power to those people. But it's not for everyone. And I understand that. But it's at the minimal scale. Like, do you want to live your life stuck in a box, right? And you're walking with chains on your wrist and chains on your ankles and you're stuck, right? You don't want to live that way. Like, you want to live a life that allows freedom, that allows you to express yourself to your truest self.
Not to get confused with living dangerously. It's just living free.
Living freely.
Opening your options.
Not, exactly. It's not like doing things to put yourself in harm, but it's just being a little bit of like a calculated risk taker and allowing yourself to live the life that makes you happy, right? And for that, it looks different to a lot of people, right? Yeah. Not to say that you living a conservative life on your own is not a happy lifestyle. Like, by all means, do that if that's what makes you happy. Yeah. But have honest conversations with yourself. Like, are you happy with your life? And if so, great. And if you're not, why are you not? Like, have those conversations. We need to do more self-reflection, because it's crazy what you can discover when you look within and just write on a piece of paper and ask yourself, how am I feeling today? Like, do that. You don't know what you're going to find out of that, right? It's like, the more you look within, the more you're going to find out about yourself. And the more you can find about yourself, the more you live true to your identity and the more free you're going to feel. And there's so many distractions, right? We're working all the time and we're hanging out with friends and we're doing this and there's a million things going on all at once. But if you don't take the time to, stay tranquilo and be with you, it's going to be tough to really understand who you are, because it's going to catch up to you eventually.
Yeah. And like with anything, I mean, it's a long haul. Like truly figuring out who you are. Like
it's not happen overnight.
It takes time. You're going to be evolving, for your whole, like for a long time before, like, I feel like I'm finally like understanding who I am, but like I still have a lot to learn, man. There's still things I need to learn.
That's what life's all about. You're going to be 96 years old still trying to figure yourself out. You're never going to have it figured out.
I think I can say my morals are in place, and I think the same with you. I think our morals.
That's important.
Your morals are in place. At least we know what we stand for.
Yeah,
at least
that's true.
Maybe you have to find a few more things about like maybe your own personality, but what you stand for, the things that are near and dear to you, like with especially with your brothers, like that caretaker, just like appreciate your family, appreciate and then appreciating the struggle, appreciating what you have, and and that's a lot to say after coming off one of those blue mission trips.
Yeah, exactly.
Appreciating what you have.
I think the older you get too, you realize like what it is that you really value in life, like what's important to you, and you're not gonna allocate time to things that are not important for you, and that make you feel good and that make you feel empowered. I think that ultimately is what it comes down to. It's like what's important to you, and then just allocate your time to the things that make you important, because it makes you feel good and it makes you happy.
Yeah, and then kind of going back, like for you, like when it came to starting Stay Tranquilo, what was that moment that was just like you were like here, like you're kind of struggling, but it was like the sharp right turn to what this is now? Like, where was that? Was it like right when you came back home, or was it just something that like?
So it's funny. So at the time when I had come up with the name, I was like kind of marinating on it.
And I'll give you guys a spoiler. The original name was not Stay Tranquilo.
No, it wasn't. Some people know what it was called. It was actually called It's a Vibe.
2 Chainz.
Yeah, and it was like when 2 Chainz dropped that song, and it was like life's a vibe, like it's a vibe, it's fun, all that. But inside of me, I knew it wasn't it. And that's where I stayed marinating on it, right? So I'm marinating on this, and Tranquilo came up to me. I don't remember why or how, but it was like through my meditation and shit like that. And I remember that, and I'm like, Tranquilo, like stay tranquilo. Like we got to stay tranquilo. So I'm like, okay, I like that. That rolls. I remember checking like if the domain existed. It didn't exist. Then I remember looking on Instagram. The Instagram handle wasn't taken. And I'm like,
it was a fresh new idea. Like, it was fresh on the block.
But even then, like I sat on it. I did sit on it for a little bit. I don't remember how long I sat on it, but I did sit on it for a little. But
and this is what year again? This
was probably like junior year of college, senior year of college.
So I might have been graduating from high school.
Yeah. This was like
2017,
2013. It's like around 2017. Yeah. I was like just turning 21, I think, or I just turned 21.
Damn.
I just turned 21.
So I was still a baby. I still hadn't even like.
Yeah, because when I started working at Kind Bars is when I started the whole Tranquilo thing. And I still don't think it was called Stay Tranquilo. It went from like It's a Vibe to Tranquilo to then Stay Tranquilo, I think. But I knew Tranquilo was the word, like a play on the word.
But it all happened within that time.
Within that year. But it's funny. So I'm sitting on the word like Tranquilo, and I'm at my brother's baseball game for elementary school. And there's a kid sitting in front of me. The kid must be like 4 years old. And he's there playing around. He's like throwing rocks and stuff like that. And he's there with his mom. And he comes up to his mom, and he goes up to his mom and he goes, Mom, 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 Mom. And the mom goes, oh, what happened? What happened? He's like, Mom, you know what makes me tranquilo? And I was like, are you fucking serious right now?
Wherever you are, kid, we appreciate you.
I don't know who the kid was. Know nothing about him. But I remember that vividly, and just sitting there on the bleachers like, holy cow, that kid just said that. Like, kid spoke English the whole time, didn't hear one word in Spanish from him. And he goes, Mom, 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 you know what makes me tranquilo? And in that moment, I'm like, this is it. Like, this is what I got to do. This is the word that I want to utilize. And then, from there, again, it was just a mantra. Like, there was nothing to it. It was like me promoting a good message. And then essentially what happened was, at the time I was consuming a lot of podcasts, like personally listening to a lot of personal development podcasts. And I'm like, you know what? I'm trying to promote this, and I've always wanted to start something of my own. So I'm going to start a podcast, and I'm going to call it Stay Tranquilo. And it's going to be about, like this, like what it is now today, like telling people stories, how they've overcome the adversity in life, and, how they became who they are today, and just share people's stories, that kind of fit the Tranquilo mantra. And it started picking up steam. People started seeing it. I was getting DMs about the things I would talk about on my stories and say like, hey, dude, like this helped me so much. Like, you have no idea how much I needed this message. And then, people were reaching out to me saying like, dude, I love what you're doing. And then I would go out and people were like, hey, tranquilo. And then it just started picking up steam, and people really liked the message that I was putting out there. And I'm like, shit, I'm onto something. And then that's when I really just started doubling down. I'm like, I'm going to do this podcast. I'm going to do this podcast. I'm going to do this podcast. Did it for a while. And then it's funny, as I started doing this, people started seeing that, and they saw like the growth of it. So I started getting a bunch of like marketing requests. And that's when I started working in marketing, because my degree was in exercise science. I studied exercise science. That was like me just trying to get a degree to make my mom happy. And I got my exercise science degree, realized that wasn't for me in this process of discovery, of self-discovery. Playing sports, like in my head, that was like all I knew. So I'm like, I'm going to do that. But then I started realizing, hey, I'm pretty good at this marketing stuff. Like, maybe I could do marketing. So I started getting like little freelance marketing projects. I worked with Kind Bars for a little bit, which that was a good job for me. It was like right out of college. It was a company that represented a positive message, like being kind to your body, being kind to others. And I really appreciated what the CEO and founder...
It fit your kind of style, your message, your way of thinking.
Of what I wanted to accomplish. Like, I looked at Daniel Lebetsky, the founder of Kind, as like a mentor and an icon to follow. Like,
it should have been a pretty good job, a pretty good environment to work in.
Yeah, and it was a fun job. The people that I worked with were amazing people. And I even saw a future of working there. And I even tried to like climb the corporate ladder there, but nothing lined up in a way that it made sense for me. And then, that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to just not do that. I'm going to work on Stay Tranquilo. I started selling merch. The merch was selling really well. I was fresh out of college. I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then I still had my exercise science degree. So I was doing like little personal training projects on the side. I ran a summer camp with kids that I coached in baseball that I made great money out of. And bro, I was just a hustler. Like, I went out there and I found ways to make money while doing this. So I did that for a while. And then, fast forward, because of the whole marketing stuff, I ended up joining another guy, Renee, and starting a marketing agency. He had left Facebook. My mom put me in contact when he was teaching, when my mom was teaching his daughter. And then I started the marketing agency. And that's where things started changing a lot, because
I was going to ask you, was there ever like, from that initial kind of like blast, because I remember like seeing like your original content, like there was like a downturn. So
that's where
like there was like kind of a dip. Like, so I was going to ask you, like, at what point was there like your first kind of like dip in like seeing Stay Tranquilo through?
Yeah. So at that point, it's probably like a year or two. Pre-COVID. A year or two into Stay Tranquilo. And then I start with the marketing agency, and I start making like pretty decent money there. Like, at the time, like nothing crazy, but like, money that I wasn't seeing.
For someone that's 21, 22, like that was good money.
And it was consistent,
you got your bi-weekly.
Little payroll situation, whatever, but still startup vibe. So I liked the aspect of like starting something off the ground, and enjoyed working with Renee, and it was fun, right? But I did that for 4 years. And in the process of that, I lost a little bit of sight of Stay Tranquilo. Like, it wasn't the priority. I always was working on it, but I wasn't like doubling down on it and hustling the same way like how we are now, and how I was when I started it. And the marketing thing was just like, it did it. I enjoyed the marketing. I enjoyed working with brands. I liked it. Like, I do enjoy marketing. I still do it to this day, helping people build brands. And I just like that line of work and building companies. Like that's something that I generally enjoy outside of the Stay Tranquilo world. And I think that's something I'll do forever. But it did take Stay Tranquilo on the back seat a little bit. It was like I was working on it at 30% instead at 100% like I was before. And honestly, that's one of my biggest regrets. Not working with the agency, but not keeping my fucking foot to the pedal with the podcast, because I had such good progress at the time in a world where podcasts were not where they were today, that God knows where that, if I would have just kept the gas to the metal, maybe been more active on social media consistently for a long period of time, but I didn't, and it's okay. I mean, it wasn't what it was meant to be, and who knows?
I hate that game of what ifs.
Yeah, no, you can't play the what if game. It's not productive.
Because every like, I think every company has that point where it's like there's like a downturn, and they're like, oh man, what if we did that? Like, dude, like
you can't play the what if.
You can't play that what if game because then you're gonna torment yourself.
It goes back to what we were saying before. Like everything that happened was meant to be, and the timing wasn't right. And guess what? I learned a ton from working at that agency. I met a ton of people. I learned about the space so much that guess what? It's what turned us into what we are today. Because if I never learned about that world of business and marketing and media and content and how brands work and where are they spending their money and what do strategies look like, I would have never even positioned this brand the way it is today, because I saw a gap in the market and I'm like, you know what? Latinos are super underrepresented. The mantra of positivity and media companies that position themselves in a way around a positive message are nowhere to be found. And I have this platform in Stay Tranquilo that can be that filler of that gap. So, I go through those 4 years, I understand the world of business a little bit better. And I also understand the gaps that are in the marketplace that I felt like we can exploit. And fast forward to, basically a year from today, not exactly today, but like basically like a year and change, I realized that I could build a business around this now, right? Because it had no direction for like fucking 4 years. It was like maybe make a couple of t-shirts. Like, I don't know what the fuck I want to do with this. That became the next challenge, right? It's like I have Stay Tranquilo, people like it, but what the hell do I do with this thing?
Is it?
I didn't know what to do. So that became the next discovery, right? And then as I worked in the agency and I started to kind of wean out of that world, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand this more. I have a platform. I'm working with brands kind of like by accident now.
You start doing like the target markets, like the pitch messages, like the main message, like all that you're doing all these little like things. I remember I did advertising stuff. I remember like when you're creating something, you have like, okay, what's your market? What's your pitch? Like what's this? What's that? And like I'm sure you have to go like you like did that for other companies, but like at the same time you're learning how to do it for yourself. So the questions you're asking other people were the same questions you started asking yourself.
And then a lot of the strategies that I would apply to these people, I'm like, let me try it at a minimal scale with Stay Tranquilo. And obviously it proved to work. And the more I double down on that model, the more it reaps its benefits and the more it makes sense. And the conversations that you have out there with people showcase like, hey, you're thinking about this the right way. Like you're talking to smart people out there and they're like, yo, you're onto something. Like keep doing what you're doing because it's the right way to think about it. So that is very reassuring in the process where you're almost like you feel good about it, but you're not 100% sure, but you're getting reassurance from people that are very credible in the space that are like, hey, this is what's going on. I mean, like like a year into like almost creating this model, not even like a couple months into creating this model, like I was already flirting with discussions of an acquisition, like someone wanting to acquire Stay Tranquilo, so it's like, shit, like what the fuck? Like you're not even thinking about that when you're kind of creating this. And yet someone's here like, hey, by the way, this could be an option, and obviously that didn't fall through for the better because I look back at that moment and I'm like, that would have been a mistake.
Huge.
And it feels good at the moment, obviously, but you're like, you look back at it and you're like, yeah, maybe you don't reap the benefits immediately right off the bat, but this is so much bigger than what it would have probably even sold for, right? So it's like, you go through that and you learn and it gives you validation through the process, but there's always something bigger and better out there for you. If it's meant to be, it will be. And that's how you got to go through it, because there's going to be a lot of things that might seem enticing at times, but it's like can't fit a square into a circle. If it's not meant to be, it's not going to happen. So those are something that you learn along the way.
So you're working at the marketing agency. Mm-hmm. So at what point did you finally kind of go 10 toes down and start really creating, what we are now? Like at what point was it like that uptick turn?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely started ramping it up kind of like the last maybe year that I was there at the agency, because I started realizing, okay, hey, I'm onto something. I'm having crazy conversations with people right now about the acquisitions and this and that. And I'm like, okay, I gotta focus on this. That's the other thing. It lit a fucking fire on my ass. Like it was like, yo, you're fucking onto something. People like this, and you're having these type of conversations. Let's go, right? So I started doing that. And then I just started studying the space more. Like Barstool model was a model that I study religiously still to this day. And they've been very successful. And Portnoy has done an amazing job of building what he's built, even through controversy and the things that he has. But from a business lens, I studied that model. And I'm like, I could build this for Latinos, mm-hmm. right? And in a way that they actually care about, right? Like in things that they care about, and represent myself as a Latino and the things that I'm passionate about across obviously what we've created, and attach it into the things that I believe are like the pillars of what makes you stay tranquilo, right? And that's how it got to this point, because I realized, hey, there's a need, there's a demand, and without basic, economics, there's a supply and there's a demand, right? And without that, you don't have traction. So, I got out of the agency. I'm like, I'm going to commit to this full time, but I also need to make money, right? And at that time, like Stay Tranquilo was like in its inception, essentially. Like some like freelance work was coming into me, but like I needed to get a job. So I got a job, and then I used that as ammunition to fund the company, because that's what I was telling myself. I'm like, I have something good. The money's not coming into the company at the way that I need it to do the things that I want. Then I met you, and I wanted to obviously pay you. So I'm like, I got to make this happen. Then I was like, okay, I gotta find money somewhere. So I took the job, and obviously, been battling that, but it's helped us grow to what we've become now, like literally to the point that we are today. And it's a fucking grind. You obviously want to give 130% all the time to the shit that you want to do, but I was a very optimist at one point in life, and I'm still a very optimist at times, but I've also become a realist in the process of it too, because you can't have delusional optimism, right? Where it's like la 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 la, it's La La Land, right? And you have to live a little bit in La La Land, right? That's where the imagination comes from. Look at the guys like the Einsteins of the world. Like,
yeah, you got to dream.
They live in La La Land a little bit, but it's the smartest people in the world and some of the most magical thinkers that have ever existed on this planet, right? And I know that. Like, part of my head is a little screwed, maybe a little bit differently than the average Joe. And I'm okay with it, because that's where my creative juices flow, and that's what allows me to be the risk taker that I know that I am. But I keep a realistic point of view, understanding that for every decision you make, there's a reaction to it, right? There's a cause and there's an effect. And the more you keep that close to you without living in fear, then you're like in this like good groove, right? Like where you got to take risk, but just know that for every decision you make, there's a reaction to it. So, I think that's what's gotten us to this point. And I mean, it's been an up and down, but I think, leaving the agency was 1,000,000% the right decision. I'm very appreciative and grateful for that experience. I learned a ton, made amazing friends throughout the process, and it was an amazing run of 4 years. But like everything, some things have to come to an end and move on to bigger and better things, I guess you can say.
Oh yeah, man. And then, you talk about being a dreamer and everything. I mean, in this, like, obviously...
This guy is the epitome of big dreamer right here.
He's talking bad about you, bro.
No, I'm talking... Dream big is everything. Like, that's the mantra. Yeah. It's right. It's literally right here on this sticker right here.
It's right here. Dream big. what was like in the short months that we've been at it, you know, going hard. I mean, traveling, going all these places, meeting all these people. I mean, what was one moment that was like, damn, like we're kind of doing this. Like, what was one point you're like, yo, Pooch, we're doing this right now, man. This is crazy.
I think when like travel started being incorporated into it, and the relationship with the PGA Tour coming to life, those were moments that I was like, this is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
You know, I think that those are moments, but there's so many like little moments in between that kind of give me that, you know, like golfing with a Javon Holland, just having certain conversations with people that I would have never had these conversations with, like little things like that just kind of like check, like almost like they're like little checklists, right? Like we're like, holy shit, this happened. Holy shit, this happened, right? Like little things. And you know, in my head, I'm still waiting for like the big shabam, because I know there's so much more out there.
What I always tell you, bro, like, dude, we're getting there, bro. The volcano's spewing right now. Yeah,
exactly.
The volcano's spewing.
But you can't always live in that too, because you could be disappointed, right? Like, you know, like you set not that they're unrealistic expectations, but you set expectations and you hope that those expectations are met, and the expectations are only a result of the output that you put out. And the, you know, obviously the time and effort and everything that you do. But again, it goes back to like, we can only control so much. And that's what I always have to remind myself, right? Like, cause you know me, I want to fucking have my foot to the pedal all the time, bro. And that's who I am as a person. But I need to remind myself that, like, dude, just what
we've already had those moments too. We've already had those kind of moments where
enjoy this for what it is. Continue to remember. And Danny Rod, Blue Missions, told me something once that always will always stick with me. And it's the fact that never forget the why of what you're doing, right? And it could be lost sometimes, right? Because you're so focused on the business side and making the money and all this stuff that don't forget why you started Stay Tranquilo. Don't forget what Stay Tranquilo means. Don't forget about being that purpose-driven life and saying that you want to help people, right? Because that's ultimately what it comes down to. And I will die in my grave in saying this. Like, if you are doing what you're meant to be doing, the rest will take care of itself. May not happen when you want it, may not happen immediately, but go and just do the thing that makes you happy and that you're set to do, and the rest will take care of itself. Work hard, be a fucking good person, control what you can control, and let the rest take care of itself. Because at the end of the day, you're going to drive yourself crazy trying to do too much. And if it's like, it goes back to that same thing. You can't fit a square in a circle. Like if it's not meant to be, it won't work. So sometimes you got to just sit in the passenger seat of life and just let the rest kind of take care of itself and marinate and be patient. Right? I'm not a very patient person. And that's something that I need to remind myself to be, is be more patient. But it is true. Like, we sometimes need to take a back seat and just be good, authentic people, work hard, and let life take its course.
And that's a pretty good segue, because I wanted to ask this question. If you can go back in time and have 30 seconds with your 17-year-old you,
ooh,
what would you tell him in those 30 seconds?
With my 17-year-old me, man. Wow. I would tell him, like, you're going to be a fucking badass. Like, that's what I would tell him. Like, forget about what everybody else is going to fucking think about you. Forget about all the shit talking that might happen. Like, just be you. Be proud of yourself through the process, and realize, like, you're more of a badass than you think. That's exactly what I would tell myself.
You like that question?
I do like that question. Made me think, but I did have an answer for it. But yeah, no, that's what I would tell myself, because when you're 17 years old, you're confused, and then you add all the other shit that's going on in your life, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, why? Yeah. You know, that's the other thing. You ask yourself, like, why the fuck is this happening to me? You know, but yeah, God's got plans for you, and if you just trust it, and
amen, brother,
it's all gonna work out.
Yeah, you never want to question why something's happening. You want to know. You always want to know. Okay, what is happening? What does this mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something, especially my mom, she always tells me like, every obstacle it's a challenge, but there's something on the other side of that hump. Like you're gonna get tested throughout your entire life, and it's a matter of how you tackle those tests. And you know, I think you did it the right way, brother. To be honest,
so.
man, I think
Thank you.
it's admirable to see, kind of overcoming that hump, and then especially in like seeing your little brother and stuff and see how he's gone up, man. Like you raised a good kid, man. To be honest, man, you raised a good kid, and like
It was my mom and me and my
Yeah,
other
man.
brother. It was a team effort for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, I look back at those moments. They were tough moments.
Yeah,
And
man.
Tears were shed, and fuck, bro.
That was your plot.
Yeah.
What do you call the plot? That was like the intro to your story right there, brother.
It is.
The
It
plot. We
is-
haven't reached the plot yet.
No, we haven't. And I
We're
one
not-
day want to write a book, and I would like. It's tough because you never really want to go through that, like.
No.
Fuck, like, yeah, I haven't talked to my dad in like 12 years or so, and my brother didn't have a relationship with his dad, and being my dad, obviously the same person, and like, part of me always is like, do I go back and try, but then I'm like, I don't think it's worth it because I'm like such in a good place right now. But yeah, I mean, this is the cards that I was dealt in life, and you come out better from it, and I'm happy with where I am as a person, and I still have so much room to grow as a person. I'm so far from, what I know I can be and what I want to give to the world. That's like, I want to do so much good. Like that's what makes me happy. And sometimes I get frustrated that I feel like I'm not doing enough, but we can only do what we can do, and eventually we'll continue to get those opportunities, and you can help at such a little scale. I think just being kind and reaching out to people, there's always opportunities to help someone, and you just got to put yourself out there and be willing to do it. So I think obviously I came out a way better person from it because I had no perspective on anything at 17 years old. And it forced me to mature, but I am, again, very happy that the way I've come out, I think my brothers, like you said, have come out on the other side of this amazing. My mom has come out super strong, and
we're just growing, bro. Now you're just growing, man.
It's just growth. It's part of it.
Now it's just growth. I mean, it's crazy because like you talk about that, but like right up until the point where I met you, I was super confused about what I was gonna do in my life, dude.
Yeah.
And like
sometimes I still question shit to this day.
Yeah, and then like talking about what you do, like the way you like want to go about like just making the world a better place, but like that was all I wanted to do too, bro. I just wanted, like, especially like seeing what my parents did for like they, through their schools and like changing so many lives for some of these kids that everyone pretty much told them no. I love that. So I was like, how can I use what I can do behind the camera and like my skills to do that? And then like, bro, like you said, bro, you never know. One day Val texts me, he's like, hey, my boyfriend, he has this little brand thing. He's like, it's like some little podcast. Like, can you just talk to him for a little bit and see what he wants to do? And I did. Here you are a year and a half later, dude.
You want to know something? Like, now that we're having this conversation, like, my biggest, like, wish is that, like, people, and I guess this is obviously part of the reason why we're doing this, but, like, I really wish people knew why I want to do this, Like, I'm not trying to be famous. Like, I'm not trying to be an influencer. Like, I don't want to do that. And, like, that was part of the reason why I also slowed things down, because I felt like
people were probably like, "Hey, look at Mr.
Yeah, I got caught up in what people would say for sure, and even if they weren't saying it, I was convincing myself that they were saying it. But like, I never wanted to do it for that reason, and I almost felt like it got diluted in the process of it because of the fact that people were going on social media and being hoorah this, hoorah that, and look at me, look at me, look at me. And like I tell you all the time, like the Stay Tranquilo is not the Andre brand. Like it has nothing to do with me. I'm just the face that's preaching a message, but I want it to be something that you engrave in yourself, that if you're ever down and you're ever not having a good day, that like just remind yourself to stay tranquilo, that everything will be okay. And there's a ton of people that love you, and there's a ton of people that are going to lift you up, and your life is going to be good. Like your life is going to be good. Just got to trust it, have faith, and just surround yourself with good people because we all need it. And I always want that to be engraved in people's heads because I think we need it more than we realize. And I just want people to realize like I am actually like trying to do something good.
Dude, it's crazy because I remember having this conversation with somebody and I'm explaining to him and he's like, what do you guys do? I'm like, who are you guys? Like, bro, we're just a couple of guys, man. Like, we're not trying to do too much. Like, we just want to give something that people like, man.
Yeah.
We just want to give back to the people, man. We want to give back to our communities. Man. We just want to stay tranquilo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and like the thing I love the most about what we're doing is like, we're not faking any of it.
No.
Like,
fuck no.
Who you see here, like, this is us, man. Like, you see us anywhere, like, you say what's up to us, like, we're the same exact people. I'm a little bit more funny, but like, you know, it's coming, bro. Relax. It's coming. I have some surprises for you.
No, I'm ready.
Yeah. But no, man, I just love like, we're just organic, man. Like we haven't faked anything that we do. Like everything we do is just like us being us. And like,
don't overcomplicate it.
We don't care if we're famous of it. We don't care to go to a red carpet, but we just want to see Stay Tranquilo grow, man. We want to see people live that motto. And, you know, I think that's what I loved most about like.
I just want to hang out with Tua one day and play golf with him.
That's going to happen soon. Tua. Come on, Tua.
That's all I asked for.
Tua's doing his thing right now, man.
Pay.
Pay the man. Pay the man. But no, man, I think like I always want to tell you, like, bro, it's cool we're building, dude. Like, it's sick. And like the way
I'm having fun too.
Dude, we're having a blast, dude. The fact that we're just doing it so real, like we haven't faked any of it, dude. Like this shit is like as real as it can get.
Yeah.
Like if you uncover it, like there's not like the layers you open it up, like we're like it's not that much. There's not that much underneath it, man. You open the.
What you see is what you get.
You're gonna see Andre trimming his beard, and then you see me on a computer. That's it. You turn the page.
What you see is what you get.
And then Dave making some outrageous takes.
Dave's a fucking man, bro.
So, at this point, now I want to ask you the question you've asked a lot of our guests. All right, what does it mean for you to stay tranquilo? You might have already answered already, but I just want you to answer. Like, what does it mean for you to stay tranquilo?
To stay tranquilo is just reminding yourself that through the tough times, through the bad times, through the times of most confusion and just lost, that everything is going to be okay. Do the work to figure it out, you know, internally, and to make yourself feel good, to make yourself feel happy, to make yourself the person that you're, you know, set out to be. It's about being present. It's about being a good person. It's about just going back to like what you said, having the right values in life, not overcomplicating things, not trying to be someone that you're not, right? It's just like, enjoy life. Like this life, we don't really get, essentially we only get one shot at this, right? From what I understand. But in this life that you have, make the best out of it and be the best possible person you can possibly be. It's not about being perfect, but it's about just being true to who you are and being calm and relaxing and, you know, being at peace with yourself.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, I like that. Well, now it's my turn. Okay, so this is gonna be our segment of Pooch's Pachanga. Pooch's Pachanga. We're gonna go to Pooch's Pachanga. So essentially, we're gonna do a little rapid fire. We're gonna do a few questions. I had some questions I have on my mind. Sponsored by Curly?
Yeah, Pooch's Pachanga. Brought to you by Curly.
Brought to you by Curly, right? So we're gonna get into it now. So you're a big coffee guy. Cuban coffee or Dominican coffee?
Oof. I'm gonna have to say Cuban coffee, but that Dominican coffee is good, bro. Okay. Like, and every time I'm in the campo, I don't know if it's just because I'm in the campo that I appreciate it that much more, but that shit hits so good in the morning. But I can't go wrong with some Bustelo in the morning and making it there in my espresso machine or on the cafetera, or going to the ventanita. Like the concept of it is just like so authentic, and I love it. So I gotta go with the Cuban coffee.
And then, outside of the Cuban culture, what culture do you feel like you connect with a lot?
Interesting. That's a good question.
I can tell you mine.
I would say I'm an island boy. Okay. So I would say the Caribbean for sure.
And so like anything like within the Caribbean? Like
anything within the Caribbean for sure, but also like Europe. The thing is I can't really say Europe but I can almost I always had like an affinity to it, like the coastal regions of the culture there in Europe. But I've never been there, so I had never really like actually immersed myself. But I feel like I would go there and be like, "Holy shit, this is home!"
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I would say like the Spain, the Portugals of the world, the
Okay.
Greeces of the world. Like I
Okay,
could definitely
okay.
see myself there, and then for sure the Caribbean. Like I freaking love the DR. Like I
Okay.
generally love the DR. Jamaica, like that whole concept of like, because it's very natural. Like I'm a very I think a naturalist, I guess you can say, or I freaking love nature. I love the mountains. I love the beach. I love the ocean. I love being outdoors. Like fucking burn me with the
Yeah.
sun. You know, like it literally like when I'm in the sun, I feel like I'm being like my batteries are being charged.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel.
For me, bro, the Dominican Colombian culture. For
Yeah,
me.
Colombia is awesome too.
I like the Colombian culture a lot.
Yeah.
All right, next question. So, 3 iconic Cuban sides. We have totone, yucas, y arroz con frijoles. Which one
Would
would you?
tostones technically fall into that? Would that be more Dominican? Or I guess it's
I
like
make the
every-
rules here, okay?
Okay.
Which one would you give up if it mean giving up the other 2?
Which one would I have to give up?
Which one? Okay, yeah. Which one would you give up forever? Like you can never have
Between
it again.
tostones, yuca, and which one?
Arroz con frijoles.
Oof.
Which one would you give up?
Oh man.
Or here's one. Which one would you prefer, but you can never eat the other 2? I think that one's better. Which 2 would you give up over one?
I feel like it's got to be the rice and beans I have to have.
Yeah.
Just because like it's a good pairing with a lot of things.
Okay.
But I freaking love yuca, bro. I love like good yuca, either fried or boiled or however they cook it. I feel like I would go. Those would be my 2. I think I would have to leave the tostones out.
Okay.
Even though I freaking love tostones, but the yuca with the arroz, frijoles, and some sort of protein.
All right.
So
This
good.
next one's kind of an inside joke, but do you regret buying the VW bug?
Oh, I regret the shit out of that. I regret that every day. I regret that every day, bro. I wanted it so bad, and it was a great deal, and it turned out to not be like the worst thing to happen. But god damn, was that thing a headache, bro? And then I didn't. Once I got it, I'm like, what?
You learned how to drive stick shift.
I
for
learned
no
how to
reason.
drive stick, which I guess was cool. Took it for a couple drives, but yes, I regret the shit out of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last.
I still want one, but the time will come, I guess.
And then the last one, for all the things we have kind of brewing in the tank,
Mm-hmm.
what's something that you can tell the people about something that's brewing that wouldn't give away too much?
I mean,
Like if you can describe what's coming in the next couple of months in one word, what would you say? Let's do that.
I would say growth, new faces, diversity in our content, and more fun.
Okay.
Is that fair?
That's fair. I'll take
fair.
that. I'll take that. All right. Now it's time for another segment.
Okay.
Called What's Happening Here. So I've done some research on some questionable photos you've taken throughout the years, and I'm going to
Me?
show you. Yeah.
Oh shit!
So I'm going to show you these photos.
God damn, bro! This
I
guy's
want
putting me
you
on the spot.
I want you to describe what's happening in these
God.
photos, okay?
Where are you even getting these pictures from?
Don't ask me, bro. don't ask questions,
Oh,
all right? So
shit.
here's the first one, okay?
Oh wow!
We'll show that one
No,
too.
that one's actually an easy one. That one's an easy one. That's a Halloween costume.
Okay,
Justin
Halloween
Bieber.
costume,
And
okay.
it was actually a hit. People actually knew. I was debating whether if they actually would recognize me, but I got a couple people say, "Hey, it's Justin Bieber." Like obviously not thinking I was actually Justin Bieber, but they knew I was dressed as him.
Okay. Now I got an OG one. I didn't think this was you when I first saw it.
I've
How
gone
about
through
that?
a lot of phases of life.
Look at that.
Wow.
OG,
Can you see
Stay
this picture?
Tranquilo.
Holy shit! Yeah, that's the
tell me-
OG logo.
Tell me what's happening there.
This is just me doing a photo shoot for, promoting the merch. This is before Johnny Cuba existed. That's why
Okay.
there's a Corona here.
We can no longer drink Corona, guys. We're not allowed to.
But yeah, dude, that was probably like 21, 22 at that time.
Okay.
I grow facial hair now,
Okay.
and
And
my hair was short.
so your girlfriend's also helped out with this project, by the way. So if you
Sneaky dog.
all right. I have this one. I know you're a big avocado guy, but this looks a little bit too personal.
That's a golden picture. Damn, Val provided that picture. God damn. And that's me, very faded at a Me Too event. I'm assuming I'm faded there. When I get drunk, my eyes close in pictures. So, yeah. And I'm taking a picture with Ricardo. Ricardo's the man.
Okay. And then one last one. Okay.
Damn. This is flaw.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to do this to you now.
No, relax. Let's not yell at me, okay? This last one, okay? I know you're all about your photos, but this one is like a little bit questionable also.
Who took this picture?
That's you, dude. I don't know.
Fort Myers Beach. Oh, Val took this picture, I think.
Yeah, dude, Val.
I don't know. Val made me take this picture. I have no other. I never go into those things.
Fair.
And I guess Val told me to. Maybe I volunteered. I don't know. I don't really remember that one. I have worse pictures than that.
Yeah, but no, she was like, she was so nice. She's like, these are kind of weird.
No, I don't even think Val has these pictures.
These are kind of weird, but he's still so cute. I'm like, oh, stop it.
No.
You're so
I
gross.
have worse. I'll gladly share so you have ammunition for another day.
For the next one?
Yeah.
All right. And that's the last one. I'm not going to do anymore.
Fair.
But one thing I want to say is, I don't think I've ever said it, but like, thank you for bringing me along on this journey, bro.
Of course, bro.
Like, this shit's been sick.
Shout out to Val.
Yeah, shout out to Val. Val's the reason that this all happened. You know, I think it's cool, man. Like I said, I was kind of lost, but I think I've kind of found my purpose doing this also, you know. And I kind of had to take a leap of faith, go outside of
and I appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah. Also, you don't realize I'm only 24, so I'm a little bit younger than the rest of the guys here. So I'm still, going over the leaps of life. But I mean, I took a leap of faith to do this, and I don't regret it one bit.
And it'll pay off.
I appreciate the experience I had to help me get here. But I think everything I've done has led me up to doing this with you, man. And I wouldn't trade it in for anything, brother.
I appreciate that, bro.
Appreciate you, man. But I guess before we ended, do you have any questions for me?
I do not. I think one day we'll do the opposite, and I'll interview you. But no, I don't have any questions, and I'm glad we got to do this.
Hell yeah.
I'm very happy to share my story, and if there's anyone that has something that they're going through, I would love to talk to you and hear you out. And I mean, I think the more vulnerable we can be in life, the better it is, and I'm glad that we got to do this because I've literally never done this before, and
that was awesome.
It's got us to where we are today.
You brought me back to my roots, dude. You brought me back to my roots of being an interviewer.
It was good. I like being interviewed, though.
I got you some good questions, though.
You did.
I got you some good ones.
I did like being interviewed.
But I think we're good to go. So if you made it this far, as always, like and subscribe to the channel. Leave some comments. Follow us on Insta. Follow Tranquilo Sports on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. We're everywhere. Shoot us a follow. We have some great content coming out soon. And like I said, leave down some comments. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you've liked. And if you just need someone, just also let us know. I mean, Andre's always willing to talk. I'm willing to talk. So if you just want to reach out, say what's up, just, hang out. I mean, I think we're super willing to do that also. But
absolutely.
I think that does it for this episode, or special presentation, I should say, of the Stay Tranquilo Podcast, guys. So
thank you, guys.
We'll see you on the next one when I sit in that chair.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
Peace.